It's the Go Gopher Podcast with Mike Grimm, episode number 200. Yes, we have a benchmark number this week with the 200th episode, and thank you all for listening and making this podcast work over the years. I am Mike Grimm, voice of the Golden Gophers, and welcome back to the podcast. We have a great guest lined up for episode number 200. The Golden Gopher football team is headed to Arizona later this month for the Rate Bowl in Phoenix, where they'll be taking on the New Mexico Lobos. Minnesota quarterback Drake Lindsey is my guest this week on the Go Gopher Podcast. The redshirt freshman quarterback threw for 2,235 yards and 16 touchdowns in his first year as a starter. He helped the Gophers to a 7-5 record and a retention of Paul Bunyan's axe. You'll enjoy hearing his season recap and a preview of the Rate Bowl in this week's podcast. Our Go Gopher Podcast is presented by alumni-owned Sunbelt Business Advisors and True North Mergers and Acquisitions. If you're a business founder planning to exit your business, start by contacting Sunbelt Business Advisors and True North Mergers and Acquisitions. Sunbelt serves more businesses up to $5 million in revenue than anyone, and True North M&A serves companies with revenues up to $150 million. Get a confidential, no-cost, no-obligation business valuation started today. Make the most of your life's work. Visit sunbeltminnesota.com or tnma.com today. Longtime Gopher sports supporter Cub is a proud sponsor of the Go Gopher Podcast. In a hurry? Don't worry, Cub delivers. Get fresh meat, produce, everyday essentials, and more delivered to your door. Cub is the official grocer of the Golden Gophers and proud to support Gopher athletics for over 20 years. Shop happy. The Go Gopher Podcast also presented by OnX Maps. Find out how to download the OnX Fish app for free by listening to the Go Gopher Podcast. We're podcasting episode 200 from the Aquarius Home Services studio. Also, we want to thank Affinity Plus Federal Credit Union for their support of Golden Gopher student athletes. They've supplied a gift card to Drake Lindsey for his appearance on this week's Go Gopher Podcast. We invite you to subscribe and follow the Go Gopher Podcast. It's free to follow and free to subscribe. You can go back and listen to previous Go Gopher Podcast. Last episode, for example, we broke down Gopher recruiting with a quick visit with head coach PJ Fleck and an in-depth look at the class of 2026 recruiting class with Gopher Illustrated's Ryan Burns. Go back and have a listen. This week, it's more Golden Gopher football talk as we preview the Rate Bowl with Minnesota quarterback Drake Lindsey, who returns to the podcast and joins me next.
I'm Clay Geary, walk-on turned scholarship wide receiver for Gopher football.
And I'm Ben Utek, U of M alumni, Super Bowl champion, and Tony Dungy Uncommon Award winner.
We understand championship culture, which is why we're part of the True North family of companies.
True North invests in only elite teams, like the champion team at Sunbelt Business Advisors, Minnesota's largest seller of companies. To learn more about True North and our diverse family of independently owned companies, visit TrueNorthEquityPartners.com.
Stuffing the bird, you gizzard, spiral cut ham, 4 grams and grams, garlic mash, leftover hash, deer on to Del, loves in Pentel. Whatever your menu is, Cobb can help you handle it. Happy, 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 happy shopping. Happy, 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 happy shopping.
This season, don't just shop. Shop Cub and shop happy. Holidays.
Shop Tricoli, shop Mashinley, shop Lizzie, shop Cumberly, shop happy.
It's episode number 200, a bit of a benchmark episode here, and we have Gopher quarterback Drake Lindsey to celebrate 200 episodes. I think it's your second or third episode with us.
Yeah, it is.
Thanks for coming back.
Yes, sir.
Fun time now for you guys. Season in the rearview mirror in terms of the regular season, and now it's the fun of making a bowl game and the fun of getting somewhere warm here in a couple of weeks and getting ready. So take me through the decompression phase, I suppose, at least a little bit right after winning the Axe, right?
Yeah. So right after winning the Axe, you get a couple days off to relax, and then we kind of got back at it, hitting the weight room. But still having some downtime. Still have like 2 or 2.5 weeks till the game. So kind of getting our minds ready for that, but using this time to get our bodies back and doing all the treatment we need. So December 26th, we're ready to go.
Yeah, no doubt. New Mexico, the opponent. We'll talk about that here in a minute. And I suppose, is this a little bit of crunch time, too, from a classroom perspective, or are you all finished now with class?
Yeah, I just this morning I finished up all my assignments, and then I have one final So pretty much I have one assignment left and I'm done.
Yeah, then that's got to be a nice relief too, just to have
Yeah.
that off your plate for a few weeks anyway,
Yeah,
right?
it is for sure.
All right, so you're in the bowl game. You're not opting out. You're going to
Yeah.
play.
Oh, yeah.
Was there ever a doubt? I mean, was there ever like, hey, is this – because there's teams that have opted out. There's certainly players that have opted out, and it's such an interesting time with college football in general.
Yeah.
But you're set to go.
Yeah. There was I didn't even think about that one time. I was obviously, set to play in the bowl game and super excited for it because that was one of my favorite memories from last season was, having those 4 or 5 days in Charlotte and then playing the bowl game.
Yeah, and obviously last year you were able. I mean, it's been talked about a lot. You were kind of at the hip with Max Brosmer, and what did you learn about that week of bowl prep with him too? Just that you might be able to implement this year.
Yeah, I thought bowl prep for me was very beneficial last year because I got a ton of reps. Because the starters usually don't practice the first week or two, so it was really an opportunity for me to show them I can lead practice, take people and make them better in practice, and that was a big week for me, a big couple weeks, and that's where I felt like I really grew as a player, having those couple weeks to really, be the starter in practice, because I think that's where you ultimately get the spring ball and you feel like you've done it before. So it was a great opportunity there, and then Max had, just being by my hip and helping me through practice. Being the starter in practice is harder than you think, and now I'm used to it, obviously, but the first couple times you do it, it's pretty challenging. So having him, lead me through that and be by my side for everything was obviously very beneficial.
I was trying to just recall off the top of my head. I should have prepared for this. You got in on a play or something, right? Some trick play, wasn't it?
I was in 3 plays or 2 plays. One, Max was at wideout, and then we fake tossed to him, and I threw it to Jamison. And then the other one, it was a screen pass, and I was at quarterback, shifted to running back, and then DT flipped it to Max, and Max threw it back to DT.
I was trying to remember exactly what it was. That's kind of the fun part of bowl season. PJ, usually, I won't ask you, and maybe you're not even at that point yet of trying to implement an exotic or two. I remember one year the holder ran in for a 2-point conversion. We had Daniel Fa'alele before your time run in for a touchdown down in fact, it was in Arizona, and Dragan Kesic had the in Detroit had the attempted 2-point conversion on the kick. So it'll be fun to see what all of you guys have up your sleeve as well. The part of as well that I have to ask you is next season, because it is that time of year where there are people deciding what their future holds because the portal window opens. So there had been a lot of folks going, geez, I hope they can keep him. I hope they can keep him. So are you set to determine for sure what your situation is?
Yeah. I got my stuff done right after the Axe game, so I decided I was going to obviously come back, and there wasn't any other thoughts in my mind. I love this coaching staff, and I really feel like I'm developing into an NFL quarterback here with the offense we run, how good Coach Harbaugh and Keegan are, and Eric Kaler and Coach Simon, how good they are developing. And I really feel like, and obviously Coach Fleck, as a man and also as a quarterback and situationally. And I really feel like I took a huge step this year. And when I look back, from freshman year to now, I've seen huge increases in every part of my life, not even football. So I think having another year or 2 or 3 under these coaches and this place, I really think I can grow and be a really, really good quarterback and a really good person. So, yeah, there was no doubt in my mind. And I'm really excited to come back for another year here.
Yeah, I could tell that you're bought in. You like the culture. You like the situation. I think what some people were scared of is you just never know if somebody's going to throw enough bucket of money at somebody or what is. But the value that you place on being here, and it's not like you're not, you mentioned your stuff. I'm assuming that's part of collective and all that stuff to get finalized. So the whole package was enough that you're a Gopher.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, they took care of me, and really it's not even about that. It's just about being in the right system, and I really feel I'm getting developed here, and I think that's the main thing because the ultimate goal is to take this place to new heights and then play in the NFL. So obviously I'm focused on now in the bowl game, and then we'll get ready for 26 and attempt to take the Gophers somewhere they haven't been.
With the offense, as you mentioned, and Harbaugh's talked about it, that it's shifted from the RPO, which was run a few years ago, and really for most of PJ's time, to now a more NFL style where there's the checks and the play style and all of that stuff is similar to what a lot of teams at the professional level run. How do you think you've taken a hold of that, and how much has that played into deciding you're going to be back?
Yeah, I think I've grown a lot in it, and I think the biggest thing that I'm continuing to get better at is just run IDs and getting really good at that stuff. Because like Coach Fleck tells me, that's where you make your money. Like on 2nd and 3 or even 1st and 10, getting to the right run or making sure the ID is correct so the O-line can get on the right blocks and the right path is huge. And then obviously just keep getting better at protection. And I think a lot of colleges don't stress protection. Like protecting yourself, and the quarterback's making all the protection calls. And Coach Harbaugh really makes me work at getting myself in the right slide, putting the ID correct in the pass protection so I can get the running back out. And I don't think a lot of colleges do that. I've heard a lot of colleges have the center handle protections, and I can't even imagine that right now, because if you're snapping the ball and you don't necessarily know the protection, you don't even know who you're hot off of. You don't really know where the slide's going, and that might be a little over-exaggerated, but I really think I'm just developing into an NFL quarterback here, and we do so many checks and alerts and kills, and then some plays I have to know if a certain defense shows up, then I have to completely change the play going into weeks, and I just think that's really training me in my mind to be an NFL quarterback, so I wouldn't take that for granted.
Yeah, and in addition to the preparation, it also, I suppose, just helps in the moment, like you're trying to get into the best play to win a game, right?
Yeah, 100%. And the preparation is the biggest thing, because I think like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is really, really challenging for me because we have a whole new game plan, because once Sunday hits, I don't think people really realize, like once Sunday hits, the whole game plan's flushed. And there's new plays, some new formations, whole new defense. So you're really retraining your mind from Sunday to Friday to be able to, when you get to Saturday, play really, really fast. And that takes a lot of preparation, a lot of time with the coaches, a lot of time on your own before bed, making sure you're good on the alerts, the kills, what to get to if it's messed up. So ultimately, when you get out there Saturday, everything feels really natural. And that's what I felt really comfortable this year as I started getting used to preparing on my own and preparing with the coaches. Once I got to Saturday, I could really feel what the defense was doing. And that's a testament to Coach Harbaugh and Keegan and everybody in there for pushing me and making practice so challenging on me.
Yeah, and I suppose, as you mentioned, there's certainly college schemes, RPO schemes. I'm not saying, like, there's RPO schemes that have won national titles, so I'm not saying that that's not a way to go win games. But some of those are, for a quarterback, it's a one-read deal.
Yeah.
Give, not, throw, and it's over. And if it's past that, then it's either a throwaway or a scramble or whatever. And that can work in the NFL. There's been guys that have been out of RPOs. But from a general standpoint, you've got if you're an NFL scout, you're going to look 6'4", 6'5", 220, 230, can make all the throws.
Yep.
And now the decision-making also becomes a factor. Then you become a legitimate NFL prospect.
Yeah. I think, that's what we've been talking about. That's the reason I'm here, is I think I can really develop and keep developing in those areas where just getting the offense in the best look nonstop. I think this year I did a solid job at that, but next year it'll be way better with just understanding the scheme, understanding what the defense is giving me every single play. And then ultimately, I think that stuff will take care of itself. Just got to focus on the now and keep taking one foot in front of the other.
There was 1 week early in the year, I don't remember when it was, when Greg Harbaugh had mentioned in the press, his weekly presser, that you and he sat down and put in extra work on run, getting into the right run. And I don't know what all that means, and maybe you don't want to give away too many secrets, but do you recall that week, and how much of a step ahead do you think that week? Because he seemed to think that was a big, I'm not saying turning point or anything, but it was a big step in the progression of you.
Yeah, 100%. I do. We just really going over all our runs and what would be a negative thing the defense could do for us to get out of that run. Or maybe them being in a different look where I need to push the ID so the O-line can get on the right blocks and we have everybody blocked up, and then who I need to control. Sometimes you don't need to control anybody, but always carrying out your fakes and making it look like you have the ball, because that could be the split difference of one of our running backs hitting the crease,
or you scoring in an overtime touchdown.
Yeah, that too. But I think it's really beneficial having Harbaugh. I mean, he's been a tight end coach, all that stuff, so he really sees the run game really, really well, because tight ends have to know all the run game, all the pass game. So having him now in the quarterback room, obviously he's really, really good with all that stuff, and then obviously he's a great quarterback coach. But it's really beneficial to be able to get your offense into the right looks nonstop.
So it's a time where there's some flexibility for players here to potentially look at what they want to do. Portal is certainly an option for some. So you're back.
Yeah.
how do you handle teammates now? And I'm not asking about specific teammates, but just generally, are you trying to recruit to retain teammates, or are you also cognizant that everyone has their own situation? And so how, as a leader of the team, do you try to handle that just in a general sense?
Yeah. Obviously, talking to everybody, I really ask a lot of the players, really all of them that are in our locker room right now, what's their plan and what do they need to come back? Just so I can be in the same wavelength as them and really see if I can see eye to eye to them and see if that's possible or see if it's kind of unrealistic. But I think just not being a coach perspective and not just being a friend to them and seeing what's going on in their life before I just ask them, are you going to come back? But obviously, there's a big part of me that's recruiting the people that we need to stay and really everybody, because we need everybody we can get. And then starting to, after the bowl game, look in the portal and see what pieces we can add, and then the freshmen coming in.
So you're 7-5 this year, hoping to get to 8 wins with a bowl win, and it was a relatively young team when you look across the board. There's weapons there on both sides of the football. So, as you mentioned, if you retain the right people, and you go hit the portal and you add the freshman class, which is a pretty good freshman class. I think in the internet era for PJ, it's his best when you look at the ranking. So all of that can lead to good things come 26, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I think we have a lot of the key guys that we need to come back are coming back, which is really big, and then that are young and haven't played a ton of football. And then once you get every single game, you build experiences, which you don't really realize till you really play college football, because college football is very, very challenging. And I didn't really realize it till even Buffalo. I was like, Buffalo, even Buffalo's pretty hard. Like, it's pretty hard to win football games. So I think when you build those experiences and you really understand what needs to be done in order to win football games, you have to execute at a high level every single play. Like, every single play has got to be your best, or you can ultimately lose by a lot, or whatever happens. But yeah, I think it'll be huge to see what we can do and see who we can get back, and then see what we can get in the portal. But we got a young team. So it could be really good. Do
you think that's the biggest thing you mentioned from your first year as a starter, is how you have to each play becomes its own entity a little bit?
Yeah, 100%. I kind of referred to, like, me and Coach Harbaugh will talk about it all the time, but when you get on that 6-week Big Ten stretch, and then Game 5's at Iowa, and I obviously didn't play well, and that was kind of my first really big hiccup where I'd played pretty solid up until that point, and then I had a pretty rough game. And I think mentally it can just get really fatiguing when it's Big Ten stretch, your body's getting banged up, you're just week after week after week, you have a Friday game. It comes really quick, and you have to flush those games so fast and move on to the next really quickly. And as a first-year starter, it can get challenging. And they told me, like, it's going to get challenging. And I was just like, no, it's football. You know what I mean? And then it's not high school football. You realize that pretty quickly. Yeah. And you got to take care of your body. You got to take care of your brain. You got to get a lot of sleep. You got to eat the right things during the season to make sure your body's staying maintained. And during that Iowa week, you could kind of, like, after the game, I did some reflecting, and I could just tell that I was pretty mentally tired just from all the weeks built up. And then I had to do, some soul searching and really dig deep for the Michigan State game to go out there. And ultimately, we didn't play our best football until the last 2 minutes of the game. But the last 2 minutes of the game was just, giving everything we got. And that's ultimately when you find out who you are. And then after the bye week, I got that bye week. And then the last 4 game stretch, I played really well. And that was just ultimately getting a break and then realizing, next year, how to handle that. And I think I'll do a really good job handling that and understanding those 6-week, 7-week Big Ten stretches. You got to be on point every week and be over the top about your sleep schedule, what you're eating, and how you're preparing. So
yeah, so much goes into it. Which total sidebar. I've talked about this on this podcast a lot. I get irritated by the fun police out there who get upset when you guys enjoy a win. I'm like, people don't understand what goes into it for a football team, for coaches, for players, whoever. The amount of preparation, the amount of hours, the amount of things on a plate of a 20-year-old kid. Yeah, you're going to celebrate a win. I'm sorry, I don't care who it's against.
Oh yeah.
Because if you just all of a sudden, if that's a relief, and I'm sure at times we got to win. Yeah. But because it can, sports can slide the wrong way if you're not. Sports was invented for fun.
Yeah.
There was no other reason for it. It was an entertainment. It was fun. Hey, we're going to play some cards. Hey, we're going to go play cricket. Hey, we're going to go play baseball to enjoy some stuff. So if you're not enjoying the wins, it becomes that even becomes worse, right?
Yeah,
in terms of what you were, you 6 straight weeks and everything. And then as your body of work increases, so third-year starter Drake Lindsey probably is not going to let third week starter Drake Lindsey, what bugged you that week, it's probably not going to bug you then. Hey, I've been here,
100%.
Flush this. Because I suppose the walls can feel like they're crashing. You throw a pick at Iowa, all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, you've played 6 games in your life. Now you've got 20 or 30 under your belt.
Yeah.
That's an interception. It sucks, but
you gotta move on.
We've been here.
100%.
Here we go. So
100%.
that body of work's just going to continue to help you as the progress goes, right?
100%. And Coach Fleck always tells me, like, after every game, take 3 things that you learned. And I think that's really helped me, jotting those down and really just thinking, what did I learn in this game and what am I going to take for my future? So the next time I see this or the next time I'm in this game, I've used my experiences and used the things I've learned to, use to my advantage. And obviously, games are not always going to be smooth sailing, no matter how much football you played or how much you've learned, because other teams are really good too and they're going to get you sometimes. But, ultimately just using your preparation and using that to your advantage. Because Harbaugh always tells me, I said this before, but you win the game Monday through Friday in your preparation, and then Saturday it's going to take care of itself if you prepared. So that's that's kind of the mindset I take, is winning the line of scrimmage and winning those little pre-snap and then post-snap. I'll take care of itself because I'll be prepared.
What if you could pick one thing you're most proud of about your first season of football? What would it be?
I'll just say my consistency and on the field, and then my preparation. I think every single week I found a good rhythm of what I was doing, and not letting anything affect that. I was in the building till the same time. Really had a consistent week to week preparation that ultimately helped me, I feel like, play pretty good on Saturday. So I'll tweak some things next year and then see how it goes, but I feel really good about it.
How about if there's one thing you take out of the season that in the off season this is something number one priority to work on?
I would just say my leadership, because I think when you go into the season and you haven't played, it's really hard to be the leader you want, because you can't really lead the way you necessarily want to because you haven't been on the field and earned those stripes with those guys. And once January hits and when we have this new team coming back, there's a lot of new things I'm going to do as a leader that is me as a leader, but I couldn't necessarily open up all the way because I hadn't earned those stripes and played in those games and took in those hits for my teammates. So I think when you've done that for your team, you gain that respect and you're allowed and able to speak in front of the team more and earn those stripes, because who I was as a leader from January to August is who I was as a leader from August to December. So obviously in January I'll add some new style to who I am as a leader and take it from there.
And don't you think too, and from a leadership standpoint, and I've talked, we talked to guys on this podcast and other interviews, and they love Drake Lindsey. There's no doubt about that. So I think from just a general leadership standpoint that you've been really good.
Yeah.
But having games of experience too, because it's hard to lead when you have nothing to base it on from a real game perspective.
100%.
It's one thing, hey, I was in the weight room and I took some reps in spring ball.
Yeah.
But now, even starting like say next year in this bowl game, you can. There could be a time where, as a leader, you're like, remember Michigan State? In your own mind, this is what we got to do. Here's how this went, and you got a base of knowledge to lead from now.
Yeah, 100%. And I think just building those experiences and seeing what I did poorly this year as a leader and seeing what I thought I did really strongly as, and then using that to my advantage for this next season, and so I can have the standards super, super high for the offense and the entire team. So if things go negative, then we still have that standard, and we hold everybody to that, and there's no one complaining, no one being negative, because that's ultimately when your team starts getting infected. And then when things go good, we're the same team. You got to stay smooth sailing through a season, or if you start riding the ups and downs and riding the roller coaster, then you're going to get caught in it. And ultimately, that can happen pretty easily.
How was the Axe game? How much fun did you have? And I saw the pictures of you chopping that goalpost down. What was that like? You experienced it last year as the reserve quarterback, but as a guy, when it's your game, it's like you're a starting pitcher. It's different. It is. And so now you're the guy to win that game. Yeah,
it was super fun. Having a snow game at Huntington Bank, I've never really played in a snow game like that with that much snow, so that was ultimately like the best experience. That's what I enjoyed the most, was just being in the snow with everybody and last game of the regular season, just snowing at Huntington Bank. And I think the really cool thing to me was like if I was in Arkansas growing up and if there was a really, really cold game, unless you're like a ranked team, there probably wasn't going to be many people there. And then seeing like 47,000 Gopher fans there out of 52,000 capacity is really, really cool to see, and just showing the fan base that we have and how much they care about that game specifically is just awesome. So being able to keep the acts for the fans and everybody that's been involved with it was really special.
Yeah, I thought, think about the student section. They came ready to
packed,
go.
yeah.
That thing opened, and, we're 90 minutes before the game and on the air, and I looked out, and all these guys in their boots and their Carhartts and everything else running down. I say guys in a general sense. It was obviously, all the co-eds. And then they stick it out.
Yeah.
And they had an impact.
I know.
And then they do get a little field rush going, and you guys got to celebrate with them. And
yeah, it was really cool.
There was a point I felt there was a point in the fourth quarter, and maybe I asked PJ this, and he's like, he didn't. He goes, I didn't notice. I'm just worried about trying to keep the win. So I wonder, as a player, as a quarterback, there was a point at which it was pretty apparent, okay, like Wisconsin's not going to score here. This is going to be a Gopher win. They start playing music during the breaks, and the Piano Man played, and it was like a 40,000-person sing-along, and it just became kind of this euphoric sense. PJ's like, I didn't notice. Did you notice any of that?
I had no
you
idea.
didn't either. Yeah.
I didn't
It was
notice
crazy.
either.
It was nuts. It was nuts.
Yeah.
I did, from the radio booth, I did a little video I'll show you afterwards. Okay. It was crazy. It was like you're at it was like the world's biggest karaoke bar or something, and everybody's singing along.
That's awesome.
And you just get this sense like, okay, this is happening, and the Axe is staying home. The 4-1 in the last 5 against your big rival, the whole thing, and the snow globe part of it. And then and then you got the stars of the game. The DT had the long touchdown.
Yeah.
You find JMO take me but through that touchdown pass, and you had to put it right where you did, and then he made a great catch. And pretty much that was, once that hit, everyone felt pretty good.
Yeah, that was awesome. Obviously, we game planned that for a specific look and the specific defense that they ran. And the Will backer gave us a little different reaction than we thought. We thought he'd attach to JMO, and it'd be like, one of those balls like against Maryland where it's over the top and there's a guy on him like last season when he caught in the 2-minute drill. But he played it a little differently, and then he got some depth, so I just put a little air on it so I could get it over his head. And then JMO did the rest and made
so
a
really
play.
in-play adjustment almost then.
Yeah. We knew we had the right look, but how they guarded it and how they played it was a little bit different than how we prepared.
Yeah.
But, that happens all the time. You just got to adjust on the fly because defenses are going to do new things.
So when you let it go, what are you thinking? You know that this isn't exactly how we did it. You're hoping he knows what you're thinking?
Yeah, when I let it go, I saw all the grass over there. I knew I just had to get it over his head. So, when I threw it, I knew JMO was on the same page as me. We kind of see how his reaction was. I knew he was on the same page as me, and then he ultimately just made a great catch, and O-line did a great job.
Yeah, and so what's the feeling once you see him catch it?
You just get ecstatic. You just get that rush through your body. It's like pretty sweet, throwing a touchdown in the snow game. Yeah. It's pretty cool. It's an awesome feeling.
So then you have the Jameson celebration.
Yeah.
Did he get hurt on that play, or was it during the celebration? Because all of a sudden you're like motioning for the training staff to come out, and then he comes back in the game. So it must have been just maybe you don't want to talk about it, but it was like all of a sudden you're in the celebration, and then he realizes something's going wrong here for a second.
Yeah, I knew right when he got up, I could tell he was hurt. He banged his knee pretty good on the ground.
Yeah. But he wanted to take part in the celebration.
He had to. That's his thing. He had to take part in the celebration. But I knew right when he stood up and we were doing the celebration, I could tell he was favoring it a little bit. But I was and then I was just got the training staff over. Yeah. But he's good. He's doing great.
Yeah. Well, I think he was back in the game.
Yeah, he was back
right?
in the
he
game.
Shook it off.
He shook it off.
And then he went. But that was a fun touchdown. Back-to-back years that he had kind of the game-sealing catch in Madison last year with Max throwing it, and then you throwing it this year as well. So it's always fun to walk into the football building and see that axe in the trophy case. Yeah. That's for sure. So it was good to keep that. A couple of quick football questions to bowl prep now. You mentioned last year that you got to play the starting quarterback role early. So are you, with this decompression time you talked about in practice now, just really kind of gearing back up, are you kind of transitioning back in? Were some other guys able to get some valuable reps?
Yeah. A lot of guys were. Schick was leading the practice last week, and he did a great job. And then this week they kind of implemented some of the older and starters back into the practice so we can start getting our feel back because we didn't put pads on for like 10 days. So, putting the pads on for the first time again and going through Indy and getting your feel back, so we can be ready to go.
And New Mexico, I know it's early, but
Yeah.
I guess Sunday you guys found out because that was kind of a surprise. I
Yeah.
think K-State, Iowa State is what everybody was kind of thinking, one of those two, and then they both opt out, and so all of a sudden it's New Mexico. So
Yeah.
have you been able to look much at them and give us at least the early look of what you see from the Lobos?
Yeah, I've watched a few games, and they're really good. I think they play super, super hard. Their new head coach, he's completely flipped that program around and what they're about. He's done a great job, and ultimately, they play super, super hard. So we're gonna have to bring our best in order to win that football game. They're 9-3, beat UCLA 35-10. Didn't get beat by Michigan all that bad at the Big House. So they're a really good football team. They're really disciplined, and they play super hard, and they got good schemes. So we're gonna have to bring our best.
Big question for you is you guys, I think, go down on like the 21st. The game's the 26th.
Mm-hmm.
You're in Phoenix. Do you think PJ Fleck will let you go play a round of golf while you're in Phoenix?
No, I wouldn't.
Zero chance?
If he let me, I wouldn't anyways. I gotta keep my football body until after this game,
and then
maybe stay in Arizona a couple days and golf. But no, I'm excited. I wouldn't do that. It can get your body feeling a little sore if you haven't golfed in a little bit. So.
True. Yeah, absolutely. Let me read a quick sponsor mention, then I'm going to really put you on the spot after that, and then we'll let you get back to real life. We do want to mention OnX Fish is a sponsor of our show, and the weather is getting cold. We can tell that outside. It's time to start getting on the ice and let the OnX Fish app help you find the next best bite. The Fish app offers the most comprehensive fishing tool for increasing your success. Use the Fish app to find new places to fish and sort by lakes, species, abundance, trophy, and keeper potential. OnX Fish also shows you hot spots, lake-by-lake regulations, private and public land ownership, and more. And right now you can download OnX Fish on the App Store or go online, onxmaps.com/fish, to get more info about the app that's changing the game on the ice. And you can try it a free 7-day trial. Drake Lindsey, it's episode 200 here. I'm going to put you on the spot. The good news is we started the podcast out. You're back next year. That's great. You're going to play in the bowl game. Let's get win number 8 on the year. And I think for PJ now, he would be 7-0 in bowl games at Minnesota if you guys get that win. But here's the big deal. The Vikings play the Cowboys this weekend, Sunday Night Football. Your grandpa, Jim, played for the Vikings, but he was also classmates at Arkansas with Jerry Jones, the owner of the Cowboys. So I think we've hit on this before, but you grew up a Vikings, a Cowboys, or somebody else fan?
Vikings.
Yeah. All Vikings.
All Vikings.
And because I remember the first time you were on this podcast was in preseason in this very room, and you had mentioned that you had come up to a Vikings game in the new stadium.
Yeah.
Thought it was great, looked around, this is the Twin Cities, and maybe you had been up here before. I can't remember exactly how that story went. And then it was like the following weekend. Right, you had a Zoom, right?
It was like a couple months. I had been here when I was little for a couple games, but I came in 2023 for the playoff game against the Giants when Daniel Jones had a good game and they won. And
earned him like $170 million that one performance,
that
right?
One. And then I just remember being in Minnesota, and I was like, I wonder what it's like living in a city, just weirdly. And then I never thought about it again. And then 3 months later, Minnesota offered me, and then 3 weeks after that, I was committed. So it was
you are.
4 months swing of, just it was kind of weird.
And now you got your guy Max Brosmer on the Vikings, so that I'm sure only intensifies the fandom of the Vikings.
Yeah, it's really cool. I always root for him, and whatever team he was on, I'd obviously be a fan of. So it's obviously really cool he's on the Vikings. So
you grew up in Arkansas. How tightly did you follow, or closely did you follow the Vikings as a fan? Did you have buddies who were maybe Cowboys fans, or I don't know, Chiefs, or I don't know what the local flavor is down there? They're like, why are you a Vikings fan?
Yeah, most of my friends obviously knew that my grandpa. And then a lot of Arkansas people did, but a lot of my friends and people that I knew were Cowboys and Chiefs fans, and then maybe the weird Seattle Seahawks guy, but there was really just Cowboys and Chiefs fans down there, since it was 3-hour and 4-hour drives.
Yeah. And share what you want about it. So your grandpa was on the national title Arkansas team with Jimmy Johnson, too, on that team.
Jerry Jones.
Jerry Jones, that's kind of how they forged their friendship. And eventually, of course, Jimmy Johnson coached them to 3 Super Bowls. And then I think there was a time where maybe they didn't get along so well, and maybe they've reconciled. But your grandpa Jim was involved with those guys, and he's still, right? Friends right up.
Oh, yeah.
Till now. So has Jerry Jones been to your house?
Yeah, he has.
Is that right?
Yeah. The last time I saw him was probably like 2 or 3 years ago, though, since I haven't been in Arkansas that much. But no, he was super nice. His grandson John Stephen Jones played at Arkansas with my cousin Jack and they were both in the same quarterback room in like 2018, 2019, 2020. So I was around John Stephen Jones all the time with my cousin. I mean, we were family friends with the Jones. It was pretty wild because I didn't really ever. I didn't understand how big Jerry Jones's name was until I was probably like 14 or 15 years old.
Right.
Like actually wanting to take a picture with him. Like when I was little, I always just
you were just thinking he's the guy that visits the family.
And my grandpa's best friends with. I was just like, what's up, Mr. Jones? Like not even understanding that he's the Cowboys owner and what he's worth and everything that he brings. So, I mean, ultimately, it's really, really cool. And I mean, that was like my grandpa's best friend. So he comes and visits him here and there and comes to Fayetteville. And he loves it. I mean, some of the Arkansas stuff's named after Jerry Jones. So I mean, he does a lot of things for the state.
How about Jimmy Johnson? Does he stay in much touch with him as well?
Yeah, he does. So they go to this place called Feldner Brothers every Monday. So it's really, really good. I used to go when I was in high school. My dad would get me out of school and I'd go eat with all of them.
So you'd be there with Jimmy Johnson.
Jerry wouldn't be there because he's in Dallas.
He's in Dallas. Does Jerry live in Arkansas?
No, he
Jimmy?
doesn't. Jimmy does. Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah. So there would be like 7 or 8 of former Hogs that would all be there. There was like a few basketball players, like 5 football players that were on the national championship team, and it's like the same group every single Monday.
Wow.
And my dad and uncle always go, and I would usually take like a buddy. And we'd always just like sit there and laugh, and they're pretty funny guys. So it was pretty fun to do that on Mondays.
Have you been to some Cowboys games at the new stadium?
I have never been to a Cowboys game. I used to go when we'd watch Arkansas play A&M because they'd always play at the Cowboy Stadium. So I went to the stadium a few times to watch Arkansas, but I've never been to watch the Cowboys.
To a Cowboys game. Well, you got to get the owner to get you some tickets, right? You can do that. You know the guy. Just call up old Uncle Jerry there and see how he is. Well, I just thought it'd be kind of cool to go down that road and just find out a little bit of the background. What year was that national title team? Was that like 64?
64.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, they won 1964.
Frank Broyles maybe was the head coach. I want to think. Yeah.
That's like my grandpa's like. That was his older best friend, but we were really tight with the Broyles too.
Yeah. Frank Broyles, after he won the national title, then he got into you weren't born yet, but when I was young growing up and kind of wanted to realize that I didn't have, the right arm of Drake Lindsey, even though I loved Roger Staubach. I grew up with Roger Staubach was my guy, right? I grew up in Iowa, but the Cowboys were America's team. And so I don't follow the Cowboys at all now, but when I was a kid, Captain Comeback was my guy. But then I realized that I could throw a nice spiral, but it would only go about 15 yards. That I wasn't going to do that. Wanted to get into broadcasting. Frank Broyles forever was the partner of Keith Jackson on ABC before Bob Greasy and Dan Fouts and others. But it was Keith Jackson and Frank Broyles for a long time on the old ABC games.
Yeah, and then Frank actually ended up becoming the Arkansas athletic director. For like 20 or 30 years after he was done coaching. So he coached for like 20 years and then was the athletic director. And then at one point, he was the head, like before it was like the 60s and the early 70s, he was the head coach and the athletic director. Yeah. So, I mean, it was pretty wild, but yeah, he was a great guy.
Cool stuff. Well, hey, you have to go get some classroom work done here to finish your semester. Football practice is back tomorrow, right?
Yep.
And you're transitioning back into it, and it won't be long. December 26th, you'll be facing New Mexico down in Phoenix. So appreciate you coming on.
Yeah,
obviously, good news. I guess we kind of made it official here that you are a Gopher again. And it's weird in the times we are that's it. But people are wondering. So there'll be a lot of happy Gopher fans to catch the news. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, he's Drake Lindsey. It's episode number 200, the Go Gopher Podcast.
My thanks to Gopher quarterback Drake Lindsey for joining me on the Go Gopher Podcast on our special edition episode number 200. I hope you enjoyed listening to our fantastic conversation as much as I enjoyed being a part of it. Episode 200 is presented by Sunbelt Business Advisors and True North Mergers and Acquisitions. If you're buying or selling a business, visit sunbeltminnesota.com or tnma.com today. Cubs, a proud supporter of Gopher Athletics for over 20 years and a proud sponsor of the Go Gopher Podcast with Mike Grimm. Cub, bigger savings on the items you love. Shop happy. And OnX Fish also sponsors our show, Happy Hunting from OnX Maps. Again, I'd invite you to listen to past podcasts, and please be sure right now to click the subscribe or the follow button of the Go Gopher Podcast. It's free to follow or subscribe and free to listen at any time. And please share the link to the podcast with others so they can subscribe and follow and listen as well. And if you enjoyed the podcast, let us know with some positive feedback on your social media channels. We'll talk again next week.